everybody, this is Sherry at djsundry.blogspot.com, and as you saw at the beginning of the video, we are using a sketch for today's card. Now, just a little bit of background. Operation Right Home does sketches each week, and it's so easy to take a sketch and make a card from it. When I saw today's sketch, I thought, oh, I think I could use that one, and what a great sketch to use up some scraps. Plus, I knew I needed to make a sympathy card, so I decided I would use that sketch, make a sympathy card, and maybe a couple extra cards. Well, by the time it was said and done, I will make the sympathy card with you, but I actually have a whole bunch of cards, or well, not a whole bunch, but a few cards to share with you. I think you know that I needed for something else, as well as then some notes to send to Operation Right Home. The only paper that I used that were complete sheets in the whole on all of these cards that I made were my card bases themselves. And as I come to those bases, I will tell you what they are. For today's sympathy card, I'm using Vintage Cream cardstock from Paper Tray Ink, and that's going to be my base. The scraps that I'm using are these two pieces of paper. They are from K & Company. And they're from the Ancestry.com stack. And if you've seen any of my recent videos, you've seen that I've made a couple of cards using, or a card and an altered project using these papers. So that's why I had the papers. So they're double-sided papers. And the side that I'm using for the main part of my card is this really pretty floral, and I just thought it was good for a sympathy card. I'm also using this side kind of as the accent piece, and then this side I'm using both sides of this for my other element on the card. The stamp set that I'm using today is this stamp set from K. Andrew Designs. This is called Sympathetic Sayings, and so I'm going to be using that. Now, the sketch itself, there's the card base here, and it's a regular 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card base that opens this way. Now, a sketch should just be a jumping point. I mean, you can follow the sketch closely or exactly, but it's more fun if you play with it a little bit, and that's what I did today. So here's my standard card base. Another element of this sketch, if you remember, was another piece, and this piece was to be cut at 1 inches by 2 3/4 inches. And that's what I did. This is the Vintage Cream cardstock, and this is a stamp from the Sympathetic Saying. It says, "Sending my deepest thoughts and prayers," and I'm just going to stamp that using Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Now, on the black on my other cards, I used the Archival Jet Black ink, but it's just easier on a video to use this one. I'm going to line it up here as best as I can without getting my head in, and just press that down. And I think that that's probably all I'm going to do with that. I don't believe I'm going to flag it or anything. I think I'm just going to leave it just like that. So we will set that aside and let that dry while we go to the rest of the card. Now, the sketch itself called for only one piece, and I've just kind of scribbled this out here. And it called for only one piece that was 3 1/4 inches this way by 5 inches lengthwise. So I went ahead and did that piece, but I wanted a little bit more than that. So I've already put my extra pieces on here just to save some time, but this is the piece, and I cut that at 3 1/4 by 5, and then I took another piece of Vintage Cream and I matted it, and you just barely see a little bit, but that's because I wanted to break up this piece rather than putting it tone on tone, and I wanted to have that extra. I wanted more than just this. So I wanted that contrast of light and dark in there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere down my main piece. And again, this is, see, on this side you've got the same floral pattern. That's the one of the tips that I just can't emphasize enough, especially if you don't know a lot about matching colors, and I am not that good at matching patterns and colors and stuff. And I didn't get that straight, but that'll be okay because even though I'm tearing up the bottom a little bit, it won't be a problem because you won't see it at all. But what I was going to say is, even though I'm not really all that great about matching my colors and stripes either, or my patterns, but if you use the paper that coordinates together in a set, a lot of that guesswork is taken out for you. And that's the case in this particular one, especially where it's back to back. Usually the papers that are closest together will coordinate with each other. Now, if that's sliding a tad bit off camera, I do apologize, but I just need to get it on there straight because I'm not going to be able to salvage it to take it up again. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put that down on its side. Now, I wanted this particular card to be rather simple. I wanted it to be elegant, but I wanted it to be rather simple. I didn't want a lot of frou-frou on it, even though I like frou-frou. But in this particular case, I just didn't want it. I just wanted a simple elegance to communicate my message to my friend. Okay, so so we did add a couple extra layers there, but there we have our card base. So the next part to our card were these little strips. Now the strips were supposed to be 3/4 inches wide by 1 3/4 inches tall. So I went ahead and cut the vintage cream pieces at that size. This is the 1 3/4 by the 3/4, and then my pattern paper I cut at 1/2 inch by 1 1/2 inches. Probably if I had to do it all over again, I probably would cut it just a tad bit smaller. And in the original sketch, they were more towards this side, and they are in this as well. And then what I did is I alternated. If you remember, this paper is a little bit lighter on one side, or just a little bit different of a pattern. And so what I did is I alternated those patterns so that they would I would have 3 of one side of the paper and 2 of the other. And so we are actually about to finish up this card. Now this last piece was designed to go over here just like that. And I actually had planned to pop that up on foam tape, but I think that I am going to just go ahead and use my ATG. I have the foam tape sitting out here, but after I see this particular one put together, I kind of like it just kind of over the top, just like that. So there we have our first card, sending my deepest thoughts and prayers. I'm not going to do anything on the inside. That'll just give me some room to write my message to my friend. Excuse me. So now let's go on to some of the others that I made. Now keep in mind that the only thing that I used that was not from my scrap stash was the card bases themselves. And I used 2 different colors of card bases. I used the vintage cream as I did in this one, and then the other one that I used was a also from Paper Tray Ink. This is their, I think it's called Stamper Select. I can't remember exactly, but it's just their white standard cardstock. But I chose this because it's a really good heavy quality paper. I usually save this for if I'm coloring with markers or if I'm using my Prismas. But I wanted that nice heavy base. I wanted it heavier than my normal Georgia Pacific cardstock, just because I'm sending it overseas to the soldiers. So this is the first one, and this one again is for me. Now you'll notice that I completely covered the base. It's completely white inside, and then I have this brown. And because I have the I used the scraps, I don't know the names of most of these papers because I just pulled them out of my scrap stash. I do, however, know that this one and this one, the pinks, the 2 different colors of pinks, and you do see that there is some variation there, but the 2 different colors of pink were papers that I had printed on my Imagine for another project a long time ago. I can't even remember which cartridge. Then we've got the stripe. I've got some cappuccino twine here from the Twinery. And you'll notice that on this one, I varied the sizes of the banners. Some of them are 1.5 inches tall and the others were 3/4. And then I made them into a little banner shape. And this says, "Thanks for your support." This is actually from Fashionable Friends by Andrew Designs. I have 2 of these, so I'll just show one. This is some baseball paper that I had in my scrap stash, and I use archival coffee colored ink and stamped the word hello, and that was from Happy Messages by Stampendous, just a simple hello. And then I cut my banners all the same size. This red and white twine is from the I have to see my list over here. It's from My Mind's Eyes Lime Twist, and it's red and white. And then I took my Distress ink marker, and I used Barn Red, or Barn Door, I'm sorry. And I did some faux stitching across the bottom of the card and around here. And this one's actually triple matted because I wanted that baseball paper to kind of stand out. And it just says hello. Operation Right Home really likes to have, they like all sorts of cards, but sometimes they run a little bit low on general sentiments. So all of the ones I'm sending to them were just general sentiments. Again, the same tape. It's a little bit different. I moved this one down a little bit, and I actually popped it up on, both of them, up on foam tape. So there are those 2. This one, I took the sketch and then didn't end up really using it because I went the opposite direction. And I have to tell you, I really like this card. This is a portrait style card, so it's going to open up that way. This brown is just some shimmery paper. It's either from Die Cuts with a View or the Paper Studio, I'm not sure which. And the green is from the same stack, I believe. And this is the only paper that I actually know the name of, and that's because it was still on the back side of the sheet of paper. This is actually Karen Foster paper, and it's called Butterfly Garden. And there was enough of it that I could see it. So what I did with this one is, this says love you, and I believe the rest of mine say love you. And this is from Even More Food from Thought from Andrew Design. Again, I used that archival coffee colored ink. And then I took my Martha Stewart punch, and I took another piece of this brown that's right on here, and I cut it with the butterfly punch. And then I took my liquid pearls, and this is in Peacock, and I drew the little antenna and body. And I used the green. The lime green was kind of the main color here, so it pulls that off from the butterflies, but there was also more of that peacock color in some of the butterflies and in some of the accents. So I was able to incorporate all those colors, and I think that's probably one of my favorite ones of this one, even though it wasn't really following the whole theme. Now, the reason that these are portrait for these butterfly ones is because of the strip of the scrap that I had was oriented that it could not be done this way because the butterflies would be flying on their sides. So I made 2 of them. I had enough paper to make 2 of them. This one's a little bit different. I did try to keep the sketch in mind a little bit more with this one. This is Caribbean twine from the Twinery, but because I was going portrait style, I was only able to get 3 banners. I was afraid it was going to be too full. So what I did is I cut the green one on this one. I butted both the green and the brown all the way to the top, and so there's more of a margin down here. And then I use my corner chomper on the 1/2 inch side, and I corner chomp that, and then I cut this also into a banner shape. So we've got the basic elements of the sketch just turned kind of catawampus, and again I use that same ink and stamp set. So then I have 3 more here in the pink family. This one was, this one's a little bit simpler. This one is following the sketch much more closely. I took a little bit of, I believe this is called Pink Sorbet, yes, twine from the Twinery, and put it across these 3. And then this paper is textured. This is the jet black from Archival. So got a hair in that. And again, I don't know the names of these papers because they were from my scrap stash, but I had some of this really pretty swirly paper, and so I doubled it like the others and put both on there. And then I also double matted here. I think I double matted every single one of these to some extent. Well, the last one I show you isn't as much so. But again, same stamp set, same everything on that one. This one again is another one of my favorites. I guess maybe they're all my favorites. This paper here is the same as these banner papers here, only this one showed the flowers, and you had the yellows and the blues, or kind of yellow greenish color coming through. So I found some of the textured paper that was blue that was a good match here to double mat my frames, and then I thought that looks bare. So I went back through my stash and I found these rub-ons, and these are from Royal Brush, and they're flower rub-ons, and I just rubbed one onto each banner, and then instead of having the banner straight across like the original sketch did, I kind of alternated them and went up and down and up and down. And so for Operation Right Home, you cannot have glitter, because glitter is actually a danger to our troops because it's detectable by night vision goggles. But this is not regular glitter. This is part of the stamp. We want to keep our soldiers safe, so that's why it's very important not to use glitter. But this is part of the rub-on accent, and it will not rub off, so it can be safe. Now you'll notice that instead of following the sketch on making the 1 inch by 2, well, the 1 inch tall by the 2 3/4 inch banner here, I decided to use my circle punch. Now unfortunately I don't have a circle punch that's 2 sizes, and I have a circle cutter, and I could have gotten out the Cricut, but I just punched both of these out, and then I just free cut around the pink one just to give it a little bit of a pink border. So again, I'm playing with the sketch and making it into what I want it to be. And this is the last one, and this is probably one of the closer ones to the sketch. Again, I used the Love You stamp just like I have on most of them, but I embossed it using Versamark and white embossing powder. I did my banner, and I went ahead and cut it out like a banner. If I remember correctly, I don't have the picture of the sketch in front of me, but I don't think the sketch initially showed the banner shapes. I just like it. And then I tied little individual bows for each banner with the cappuccino twine from the twinery, and I brought it around, and it's tucked behind the brown, and I made the brown be the entire size as if you were looking at a brown card, but I don't need to line it. And the nice thing for Operation Right Home about not lining it and not putting a lot of stuff on the inside is these are for our troops to send back to their families and friends and loved ones, and we want to have as much room on that as we can so that they can write their letters. And so if I had made just a brown card, then I would have needed to mat it, and every one of those mattings that you do take away from the real estate on the inside for them to be able to write home. So there we have our cards based on a sketch. We have a sympathy card, we have a thank you card, and we have some hellos and a lot of love yous. So thanks so much for stopping by today. And remember, take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.